A reported 80% of American households will take part in spring cleaning this year. And while you're purging closets or replacing sheets and bringing new life to your home after a winter of being cooped up, chemicals and cleaning supplies pose huge risks for children who mistake them as something they can eat or drink. UW Health says they see one injury about every 35 minutes related to household cleaning products in children ages 5 and younger. Dr. Megan Yanni, a pediatrician at UW Health Kids, recommends keeping cleaning supplies locked up and out of reach of children who are crawling or learning how to walk. Also, families shouldn't house cleaning supplies in reused or repurposed containers, as it can confuse kids who can mistake them for food or drink containers.
Products that look like candy or look like really fun colors can definitely be more tempting. And so making sure they're in that child-proof container, in that opaque container so that they can't see it, and making sure that they're contained and locked up when they're not being used so that your kiddos, your toddlers can't access them is super important.
Symptoms include drooling, difficulty swallowing, wheezing, and vomiting. If you believe your child has been exposed to or ingested a cleaning substance, parents are urged to call Wisconsin Poison Control at that number on your screen.